Trisha, you're on mute. Thank you, Ashley. Here we go. Let's start all over again. Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us for the second Idaho Cultural Resource Information System update. For those of you I've not met, I'm Trisha Canaday, the SHPO Administrator and Deputy SHPO for Idaho. Also participating from our office today is Ashley Malloy, our Compliance Architectural Historian. We had planned for Shannon Valine, our Data Manager, to be here as well, but she unfortunately is not feeling well today. As I said, this is the second ICRIS update. The first was held 4 weeks ago and was intended to provide a general overview of ICRIS. If you were not able to attend that meeting, a recording of that session can be found on the Idaho State Historical Society website. And Ashley is going to show you how to find that and future recordings, other resources, and trainings as well. Go ahead, Ashley. Ashley, now you're on mute.
I did the same thing you did. Okay. So our website is history.idaho.gov. If you haven't been here before, at the top we have Preservation, State Historic Preservation Office. You click that and you'll be taken to this page. And then on the right-hand side, we have this new section. It says ICRIS, and then you can click here to learn more about ICRIS. And we have the ICRIS update from August 1st. We also have the 2 agency listening sessions from August 7th and August 8th. And we also have, Shannon has uploaded the ASI form to ICRIS and primary site type information that was requested at one of our previous meetings.
Thank you, Ashley. Okay, so before we get started, just a little housekeeping. Please do mute yourself if you're not muted. There will be time for questions after the presentation, so please hold them until then and raise your hand for us to call on you. So these sessions are meant to more or less build upon each other, so we're not going to cover exactly the same ground as last time. Rather, we want to show you things that have been added since the last meeting. Today, we're going to show you a couple demonstrations from our developers and then give a demonstration of how to add a resource to ICRIS. As I said, I don't want to repeat everything we went over in the first session, but I will repeat some of the more salient points to start us off for those of you who weren't here last time. Specifically, that while ICRIS will bring some changes for all of us, for the most part, the processes will remain unchanged. You will still input data about sites or resources, and for the most part, the same data. You will also provide photos of those resources, and you will still write a report and submit it. But the processes for these actions will become more automated for you and for us. For instance, rather than entering data into the SHPO's access databases, you will input data directly into ICRIS. Based on a survey we conducted last year, we took a critical look at our site forms and winnowed out some fields, so there will be fewer fields to input. Because everything will be initiated through the GIS, much of the locational information will be auto-generated, saving you time and effort and ensuring more accurate maps. Some of our terminology has had to change because ICRIS cannot distinguish between a site and what we have all commonly called a site record. Those site records will now be referred to in the system as resource records. Users will create a project in ICRIS, and within a project, users will create resource records. As now, there will be fields that we consider to be required. With ICRIS, you will not be able to submit or complete a resource record without completing all required fields. We do anticipate that this will decrease the back and forth between SHPO and agencies and contractors where we are seeking additional clarifying information. You will now do your own record search. You will be able to upload a shapefile of your APE or survey area, or you can draw it within the GIS, and all existing sites or reports will populate on the map within your project area, and a tabular list will be generated as well. Once the project is created, associated resource records are created and completed, including uploading photos and any other miscellaneous documents. Users will write the survey report outside of the ICRIS system and then upload a PDF version. Once all elements are complete, projects will be submitted to SHPO with a click of the mouse. One significant change that we think everyone will appreciate is that as soon as a user finishes a resource record and hits complete, a Smithsonian trinomial will be auto-generated to the resource record, so you will know that information immediately and not have to wait for SHPO to assign them. Both archaeological and built environment resources will now receive a Smithsonian number. There will no longer be IHSI numbers issued, though that data will still be part of our legacy data and searchable in the system. SHPO staff and subscription users will have a dashboard within ICRIS with active projects visible. On the SHPO end of things, we will have visual indication and automated reminders regarding review deadlines. You will be able to see who your project reviewer is. The ICRIS will have automated messages and timestamps to track project progress. We are also developing a field application utilizing Survey 123 that will allow users to capture data and images in the field and batch upload that data upon return to the office. Use will not be mandatory. There will be an MOA module that will track stipulation completion and give federal agencies reminders when mitigation deadlines are coming due. So that's kind of the big picture overview that I put out there last time. At this point, I'm going to turn things over to Ashley Malloy, who will share a couple of demonstrations with you.
Okay. So we are going to show you a demo that our consultant put together where he does a record search and is using the buffer tool.
All right.
Oh, can you pause it 1 second, Ashley?
Yeah.
Just so for everyone's information, our consultants understand to a certain extent the work we do in our office, but I think you'll find as they go through the demonstrations that they don't have a fine grasp of how we use these tools, but it's still, you know, the work is still relevant, and hopefully you can see past what they're saying to how it'll apply to your work. Thanks, Ashley.
Yeah, no problem. Yes.
Awesome. So I'll just be going over real quick how the project location, the APE, affects the resources that are associated with a project. So I have just a simple project pulled up right here. And if we scroll down to the resources section, we can see that there's one resource associated with this project. The label on the right says that it was created by this project. And so that's a resource that's always going to be associated. And these are either created via this button right here, this new resource button, or created off of literature review resources that new versions are based off of. So if I scroll further down to the project location section, we can see that I have two shapes here associated with this project. Shape number 1 already has a buffer of 50 meters around it, but shape number 2 does not. Number 1 is on the left here, and number 2 is on the right. This layer shows a couple different other resources on the map here, so I can choose this shape right here. For example, these orange shapes are the resources. This is East End Park, and I can close this one out and click this other one and see that this is named Twin County United Way. And so if I wanted to capture these resources as literature review resources for this project, there's a couple ways I could do that. I could take this second shape here and either encapsulate it over the two resources that I wanted to capture, or what I could do is I could move this back and then use the slider that controls the buffer for these shapes to kind of capture that. So if I click on this label here, and I'm going to put in 1/10 of a mile and just adjust it a little bit, so we can see this buffer is going to capture, looks like 3 total resources. And of course, I could change the units or the upper and lower bounds of this slider for the buffer if I wanted to, but I'll just go ahead and hit submit here. And the shape was successfully updated. We can see in the sidebar, we've got a buffer of 0.1 miles on shape number 2 now. And the resources card list is updated with these new resources that my project location buffer had encapsulated. So there's East End Park, and then a couple other ones that we captured. Twin County United Way is the other one. And from here, we could either create a new version with this button on the right side of this resource. The label shows that it's in literature review. And then if I wanted to just jump to this resource, the Smithsonian ID on the left side is the link. So I can open that up in a new tab and edit or view this resource if I wanted to. And then if I go back to my shape number 2 and I adjust this buffer again, and I'm just going to slide this down to 0 miles for a buffer. And so now it doesn't overlap with any resources, and just hit submit. The list of literature review resources up in the project resources card should update back down to just the one resource that I've already created for this project. All right, is there any questions about that?
Okay, so that was our first demo, and our second demo is going to be adding a new resource.
Now I'm logged in as a Shippo user. So when I click on the create project option on the sidebar, I'm redirected and I'm able to select any kind of project type. If I was a consultant, then I wouldn't be able to select everything, but I'm going to go ahead and click section 106 review. I'm going to type in a project name, say demonstration project, and I'm going to pick one of the BLM's offices as the lead agency. The submitter organization is already filled out with myself, the organization that I'm a part of. Let me fill out. And I can fill out a description, and I can also select some other project that I know of that might have an impact on this. So I'm going to search for one in the 80s. And if I wanted, while I was creating this, I can go and look and make sure that this is the one that I want. The right SHPO project number and French Creek hydropower is what I want. So I'm going to go back. And now that I filled everything out, I can click create, and it navigates me to my new project with a new SHPO project number. I could continue filling out some more information here, but I'm going to go down to the GIS and go to Boise. Let's say I was doing a construction project that might impact some buildings. Let's find a good location, say this block. So I'm going to do my project location on this entire block. And then instead of doing a mile, I'm going to change this to, say, 0.02, or actually, I'm going to change this to meters. I'm going to increase my range to 100 meters and make this, let's say, an even 20 meters. And you can see there's just in the boundary this one down here, as well as this. So as I submit, I should have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 resources within my boundary. So I'm going to submit, and new resources are added to this project as literature review projects. Right now I have 6, so it looks like my boundary was just small enough. So I'm going to increase this to 22. This updates again, and now I have all 7. Right now, these are all literature reviews. Ordinarily, I would click create new version to update them, but that's something that we'll be starting on soon. Instead, I'm going to create a new resource in the same area. So I'm going to click new resource. I'm going to select a building as my new resource property type, click save. And let's say I want to call this this building the house with the red door. I'm going to say that it's a private historic building, and I'm going to leave these undecided for now. Save. I'm going to go back to Boise. Actually, I'm going to duplicate my tab and go back to the project just to so I know I'm in the same area. I'm going to change my layout so I can look in the same area. Let's see, Boise. And I'm going to fill out this building right here. And let's say this is generated from GPS. So I save that. And if I go back to my project and zoom in so it reloads, you can see my new resource was just added. And if I go back up here, I see house with the red door, the resource that was just added. So that's pretty much all I have for today. Does anyone have any questions?
Okay, so that was our second demo. And just a note about the map, there will be a search capability within the GIS map once it's completed. Back to Trisha.
Well,
For a
yeah,
second.
so obviously he went through that really fast, and you know, we were able to follow it a little bit because we've been working with them on this for a while, but recognizing that that was probably difficult for you to follow, we're gonna have Ashley's gonna do a demonstration, a live demonstration of how to add a resource right now, and move a little more slowly and talk through it a little bit more so that hopefully it all makes sense to all of you.
Okay, 1 second. Let me just get this set up really quick. Okay. Sweet. Okay. So what I did so far, once you create a project like he showed, that you can add a new resource to it. So we just randomly selected a project that was loaded into the system. And to add a new resource, we click new resource. And because I'm an architectural historian, I'm going to do a building. Sorry, all the archaeologists. And so just like what Ethan showed, we could have a resource name, my house, ownership, restricted. Restricted is if the resource needs to be restricted, which most built environment properties don't need to be restricted. Then each section that has an asterisk is a required field within the resource form. So this is the resource general form, which has the same information which you would collect on any resource, be it a archaeological site, a linear site, a district, anything like that. And then history is optional. but you could say, you know, built in 1922 after the Great Flood. Oops. And then it has the National Register of Historic Places NRHP evaluation. And we could say, yes, it's eligible. It's eligible under A, an event, area of significance. We could say social history and I not civil rights history. And then we have the NRHP justification of significance and integrity. So this is where you can say, and then you can click save. Attachments, you'll have to upload a photo attachment. Let's see if I can find a photo for you all. Real quick here. So we have our photo. We have make overview photo and we say east facade facing west. And then we can go in and draw our resource on the map. And then it says success, create a new shape. I think we are missing a save button potentially. And then resource type, you would type the address for a building. Do Boise. Construction type. Original construction, 1922. Secondary significant construction, 1945. One building. Actually, we said it was a house, so we'll say domestic. It is not giving us a house. That is a bug. And then current use, domestic house. And then we get into, for the building, you can do the foundation material and you can just click each of these things. You could do the style and plan and save. So that's kind of the basis of creating a built environment resource. Do you want me to do an archaeological resource, Trisha?
Sure.
Okay. View other projects. I'll do new resource. All right. Resource name. So resource names for archaeological sites are not required. Ownership, we'll say public federal, and we'll say it is a pre-colonial site. Restricted, it automatically defaults for archaeological resources to restricted. And then description, we can say, and archaeological. Right. And then you could have history, and then you could say, you know, it's not eligible Say no, no. And then it is not important. And then you could go in, map it. Oops. Okay, and then you can go to resource type and we can edit. And you can do, let's say a camp, like archaic, like, okay. Oops, it did. Oh, yeah, okay, so you can select actually multiple periods. And the site, artifacts present. You can also select multiple artifacts that are present, features present. You can also do the same thing. You can also start typing, I think. Oh, no, you can't. My new feature. There are many features. And then it has artifact repository if there is one. So we can just randomly collect Western repository, collected artifacts. Yes. And then you can have impact agents. So we have grading, maybe vandalism, demolished. Grading. Excavation method. If there was excavation, you could select one of these. Or multiple ones of these. Environment description, so you could describe the environment. So you could say, you know, high desert in southwest Idaho. Sediments, soil. And then surface collection, if there's any surface collections, you could say collect or click them here. And then surface visibility, you can identify here and save. So this information is now saved and our site is here. I didn't upload any attachments, but you would need at least one overview photo to upload to complete the resource. And so it shows all this information here, and then the resource general information here. So archaeological site, pre-colonial, public, federal, yes, not eligible. Lots of contradicting information.
All right, thank you, Ashley. That was kind of quick as well. But that's what we wanted to kind of show you and demonstrate for you today. And now we've got plenty of time for questions. They can be general questions or very specific to what you saw today. So I'm going to go ahead and open it up for questions. We have about a half an hour. So yeah, let us know what you're wondering about.
And I can share my screen again if you guys have any specific questions about the site information or resource information.
And there's a question in the chat. Can you export a site record form once all of the information is filled in? Once it's saved and once it's complete, you should be able to export it. That's right. I'm sorry, Shannon would know the answer to these questions like immediately, and she's unfortunately not here this afternoon. Ashley, do you have a better sense of the answer to that question?
Yeah, so once you save it, or once it's completed fully, it'll show up in the map, and you could export that information again, doing like a search on the map. There'll be
Go ahead.
there will be a way to export it as a PDF also.
There's a couple questions in the chat, but you can go ahead and raise your hand and ask questions orally if you want. But do you click to create the end of a line on a map and continue drawing? Is that what you're doing, Ashley? I think that's correct, though. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. And can you upload a shapefile here? Yes, you absolutely can upload a shapefile. So you can either draw it yourself, or you can upload a shapefile. Are you able to show how to export the PDF? I don't think we have that capability quite yet. You know, all of this is that we are showing you today. None of it is 100% finalized. It's all on our production server. So not all of the functions and features have yet been developed and built into the system. But once we get to that point, we'll definitely show you how to do that. And can you show how to upload a shapefile? I'm not sure we have that capability yet either. Do you happen to know, Ashley?
Yeah, I can show you just generally on the map where it's at and where you would do it. So once you're on the map, this is just a survey report, but the same thing would be for anything you're uploading. Instead of the draw feature, you could click the little up arrow with the cloud, and it'll open up your file directory where you can select to upload your shapefile.
Okay. Thank you. All right, I'm going to the Cami.
Yeah, so along the lines of uploading your shapefiles, are you requiring any attributes be included with that upload? An attribute table?
I believe the answer is no, but we can check with Shannon.
Okay, thanks.
Matthew Hoffman.
Yeah, I I see that you guys can upload shape files. I'm assuming that it's upload individual at a time, but is there any plans to like make a standardized geodatabase that you could then use that to upload, say, all of your survey, your shape file, or your survey, your points, your boundaries, and kind of mold into that GIS geodatabase format that I've been hearing rumored that they're going to start pushing more with like ArcGIS and other things?
So that might be that may be something we develop with the batch uploading tool. I know when you're in these specific sections, it's like you're in the survey section, so you have to upload your survey polygons, and you can upload more than one polygon at a time. So I've done that in the past.
Okay, thanks.
But that's, you know, as we have these sessions with all of you, you know, if you're indicating to us that these are features that you would like to see, you know, we want to hear that, and we'll, you know, to the extent that we can, we'll add them into the project. Of course, every new little thing has the potential to be out of scope, as we have heard many times from our developers. So it might not be something that could happen immediately, but could happen down the road a little bit as funding becomes available. Daryl.
Hi. With regards to archaeological sites, uploading the site map, will that be just like uploading a photo? And if so, will we be able to upload PDFs and JPEGs, or will there be certain types of files that we can only upload?
Yes, you will upload the site map, and that would be a PDF, presumably, just like you would upload the photographs. So I think the answer to your question is yes. And there may be some bounds on the types of files that you can upload, but it'll be, I think, the pretty standard and usual file types.
Yeah, we'll have a section for each of the resources where you can upload additional information like historic newspapers and the sketch maps and everything. I don't think that part's built in yet to the system.
Yeah, it's all a work in progress. Questions?
We have one from Gina. She said, are we considering isolates as resources within projects?
Oh, I'm sorry, I missed that one. Are we not considering isolates as resources within projects? I think in of course, neither Ashley or I are archaeologists, and Shannon's not here. We have the approach that we are taking with isolates is that they will be essentially point data layers. I think I said that right, but Ashley, maybe you can correct me if that doesn't sound right to you. So they will be represented on the map as point data, but not as site records or resource records, I should say. Does that
And they'll
sound
be, yeah, and they'll be associated, I believe, with the survey report.
right? The survey report will provide the more detailed information. Yeah, Matthew.
So then when you're searching for them for isolates, they would come up when you do a project search, or would they be able to also be found like if you were just looking for like particular site information for an area?
Right. I think I saw Lindsay raise her hand, and I think she can probably shed more light. But yes, they'll show up in, essentially your record search. If you're drawing an APE, they'll show up there. So you'll be able to see that they exist, and you'll be able to reference the project reports that they're associated with. But there won't be specific resource records associated with them. Lindsay, can you shed some more light on this?
Yeah, I can add a little bit to that. So like Trisha said, we're still working through, having that part built in ICRIS. We decided to focus on, these big ticket things like figuring out how we're going to record a site before we jumped into the isolates. But yes, we're planning to have them uploaded so that we can have that point data that you can look at on the map. And we'll be, instead of giving them their own numbers, our plan at this point is to connect them to the survey reports and have them kind of listed in our database with, whatever temporary number you give it in the field, or if you have an agency number that you're giving to the isolate, and having that number and the survey report number so that people can go find it if they want to, if their research questions have to do with that landscape scale, and it would be useful for them to have that. But we don't want to assign trinomials to them. A long time ago, our office decided not to assign trinomials to isolates, and we still don't feel like that's really appropriate to give them those sorts of numbers, but we do want that information still, and we do still see value in maintaining and providing that information for people.
So Gina, to answer your question, so there won't be a form for isolates. That's correct. There will not be a form for isolates. And then you asked also, has putting in a table for artifacts and features been considered? And I think what if you look at the resource record, there is a box for artifacts and features. And I think we're thinking that you can cut and paste tables like that into those fillable fields. The artifacts collected inventory there. And I know Shannon is working closely with the developers to make sure that formatting, for cutting and pasting into and out of ICRIS doesn't get all wonky. So we're trying very hard to make sure that that's the case. Ashley Long, your question, does that include isolates that currently have trinomials? I don't believe we're going to be removing trinomial numbers from anything that we have in our legacy data. So this will be just moving forward.
And Trisha, just to follow up, I know, so another thing that you can upload to a resource record is an Excel spreadsheet. So I know there, some of you might fill out an Excel spreadsheet for artifact features too, and so that can be uploaded and it'll be maintained with the resource record.
Thank you, Ashley. Questions? Any more questions? We've still got about 15 minutes if you have anything you want to know. Tammy.
Yeah, I'm curious if you guys have gotten any further with the linear site recording strategy that I think may change a little bit. Yeah, if you could shed any light on that, that'd be helpful. Thanks.
Ashley, do you want to tackle that one? Ashley, you're on mute.
Sorry. We had a lot of discussion about linear sites in ICRIS, and I think what we've landed on so far is each linear resource will be given one Smithsonian trinomial number, and you'll be able to reference like the old county numbers, but you'll be able to map the resource or upload the shapefile for that linear resource, and then on the map indicate which segment you are recording as part of your project. So hopefully our one goal is that maybe we can have this color coded if we have contributing and non-contributing segments, so we can better understand these large linear resources.
Matthew.
So you're saying each segment of a linear feature would end up getting its own separate trinomial, or can you add in multi-part linear sites? So for an instance, if I have a Basque sheepherder rock wall that continues for several different segments across several small valleys, would each segment of that get its own trinomial, or would that be considered one in this? I was a little confused by your explanation.
So, so a discontiguous linear resource is what you're discussing.
Yeah, so one where I have a dip. So a really good example is, say, here in North Boise, we have Basque sheepherder walls that cut across multiple different drainages. They're not contiguous, and so that's what I'm asking is, would each one of those in a separate small drainage or contributing drainage, even though they are obviously the same feature over a long period of time, over a long, basically a long line, but they're not connected. You can see one here, you see one in the next drainage, one in the next drainage, but they are all the same.
Yeah, I think we have discussed that, and I think we can do just contiguous linear segments, and it would all be one resource.
Okay.
Gina's comment, but not all artifacts recorded will be collected. Will you be renaming that box? So you won't have to record detailed artifact info, just presence, absence. And I'm probably not the best person to answer this question. I don't know if Lindsay or Ashley, either of you can shed some light on that.
Is it this box here?
Oh, so there is there is presence absence there. Or, collected or not collected.
Yeah, so this wouldn't be a required field then.
Yeah.
No, that that box and the question below it are really so that we can link any site forms we have with the specific collections in our repositories. So you know specifically where to go. Right now, our site forms say if things were collected, but it's not, formally linked. So that's really the purpose of that box. In other sections, there's the opportunity to put in information about the artifacts that are seen at the site that aren't collected. And, we also left the ability to attach other files to the site form. So, if you put together a table of all the artifacts in the field, you can always attach that to the site form, and it'll be there as well. If you don't feel like the boxes that we have on the sections that are required in the form capture the data that you want to record for the site.
And then your next question, will there be a list of required elements to be contained in the description box? So what we're going to have eventually are the little sort of information bubbles. So, there'll be a little eye there, and you can hover over it, and it will it'll kind of provide guidance as to, what is expected to be included within that that field.
I was looking for one of those hover boxes. I knew we had them in the users, but
Those aren't quite developed yet, but they will be there eventually.
yeah,
So
we
this
do
is
not.
oh, go ahead.
To Daryl's comment, we do not have limits on some of those boxes. So
Yeah, we want more information rather than less, so we're not going to restrict that. Cami.
Yeah, I was wondering if you guys have a mock-up of the consultation summary report that folks could take a look at. I can't remember in what session we talked about that.
Is that on the website? Is that posted? I don't, Shannon has that on her computer. I'm not sure we have that to share today. Do
Okay,
you have it, Ashley? Yeah, we can definitely
I'm
be prepared to
looking,
share
yeah.
next time. Let's, give Ashley a minute. Maybe she'll be able to get at it. But if not, we can share it at the next meeting.
Okay, great, thanks.
Oh, Craig.
I had a question jumping back to linears. In the system, is there going to be a way to like click on to determine which areas of a linear have been updated recently or recorded versus, the standard mile or county long segment that shows up in the record search?
So
If that makes
I
sense.
think I know what you're getting at. So we're switching to recording the entire linear resource in the system. So you'll be able to at one time see all of the previous site forms, all the
Okay.
previous versions of the resource. So when you're looking at it, it'll show you the latest version of that resource.
Cool. All right, thanks.
Got a few more minutes if anyone has any questions that are coming to mind.
I haven't found that document yet.
Okay. So what Cami was talking about, for those of you who may not be familiar, previously we shared in another meeting a sort of a draft project summary form, and this would be the form that our office would send, to sort of resolve the consultation. So it would have all the summary information, the findings, the determinations of eligibility and the findings of effect. And it would just sort of be the official document that closes out the consultation.
It's very similar. We sort of modeled it after the different DOSC forms from the Forest Service, the BLM, and ITD.
Dana's question, can you clarify create project versus create survey? Sure. So a project is the, it's ITD Highway 44, State Street to wherever. That's the project. It has a limited number of fields that would be input. Ashley's got the draft page up right now. So it's just a handful of fields, and that's just the project. It's essentially the title and the project number that your agency might have, in a brief description of what that project is. Creating a survey, on the other hand, is, when you're going out in the field to do your survey. So then you have to, within the project, you need to create a new survey that will be part of the project itself. So she's now filling in the mandatory pieces on the create survey page. Again, it's just a small number of fields that, and this is essentially the title of your survey report, if you think of it that way. And then you can upload your survey report document as a PDF. And then within here, you can draw either import your shapefile, or you can draw your survey area. Oh, is this a linear site? Okay.
That's a road project. Click next. Summary, and if it looks good, you click submit. So I'll have your survey number, my survey year, and my name. And then you can add resources here.
What does the related project number box mean? is it to make sure we pull in previous reports we already know about? I don't think it's previous reports we already know about. I think it's just if there are projects that are related to this project, but again,
It's-
Ashley.
Yeah, it's like an addendum. So if you started a project, I don't know, BLM, like if they started a project 10 years ago and now they've done a new survey, they can type in that related project number and it'll link to that project. So it's more for addendums.
Yeah, and I'll add it's also if for some reason the agency, at one point consults on an APE and then later decides to divide, the APE and just for funding or something, you conduct the work as separate undertakings. It's so that we can link all of them together, and just know where things are and how it works.
Could you tell us if the Idaho SHPO attribute tables are compatible or at least share a common field with the GEDO databases for the Forest Service or BLM? I think our data fields are, they're not significantly changing. They're pretty much the fields we have now with some minor differences. So I think they're compatible to the extent they will be compatible to the extent that they are now. We've had, very, very minor preliminary conversations with both the Forest Service and BLM about the potential opportunity to have our developers write some code that would allow communication between their database and ICRIS, and that could happen down the field. I think that'll help everybody out if we're able to do that. Would this apply for a larger project to extend or change a portion of the project, or would that still be under the same project? I think it just would depend on the circumstances of the project itself, whether it's a whole separate project or if it's really just a continuation of the existing project. I think that would be a little bit of a case by case basis. So I think we're about out of time, and so I want to let you know that if we didn't get to your questions today, please feel free to email them to me, and we'll try to make sure that we get to those questions at the next meeting, or if you think of some in the meantime. As I mentioned at the outset, we'll be posting the recording of this session on our website where Ashley showed you could find it as we did the previous session. Please feel free to direct others to those recordings, and also feel free to forward the ICRIS invitations to anyone you think might be interested. So thank you very much for joining us today, and we'll look forward to seeing some of you at next month's update.